portion of our business meeting, and the first item will be item 4. Would you please join me in saying the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also in number 4, we have the approval of the minutes from November 16th and December 7th. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Ms. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is our superintendent's presentation. So Jonathan, I'll turn it to you.
Well, thanks so much. This is a great time of the year. It's a time that we press pause for a minute to recognize our board members here, but board members around the state of Ohio serving in this capacity, in a leadership capacity. We know there's a lot of work behind the scenes that happens. So tonight we invited some of our special guests in the district from MI, and I'm going to ask Mr. Messer to come up and introduce the special guests, and then they have some words of wisdom and encouragement for our board tonight.
Thank you, Jonathan. So we have the honor here to present with 5 amazing students, and I have 2 amazing teachers. And sometimes as leaders, you got to learn when to delegate and just get out of the way. And that's what I'm going to teach these kids tonight, is I'm just going to delegate and get out of the way and let Mrs. Colvin and Mrs. Tonkin, 2 of our amazing teachers, do the rest of this. But once again, I told the parents earlier, when you have a building of 1,600 kids and you're picking 5, that's quite an honor. So congratulations to you, and parents, thank you to you, because you're obviously doing an amazing job as well, so thank you. And it was hard. It was a hard pick. We could have chosen a lot of kids, but you're the 5 that are here tonight. We appreciate that. And I know Mrs. Colvin is up next, so I'm going to hand over to Ms. Colvin and get out of the way.
Thank you. So again, I'm Lindsay Colvin. I am a 6th grade math and science teacher at Mason Intermediate, and I'm also a Big Rock culture lead along with Laura Tonkin. She's a 6th grade STEAM teacher. And a group of staff members and representatives really got together from the culture team, the inclusive excellence team, the personalized learning team, the mental health team, and MI Strong. And we came together to create the MI Lift program, which stands for Leading into the Future Together. And all 5th and 6th grade students participate in bi-monthly Lift experiences, ranging in recognizing and practicing their zones of regulation to looking at the habits of mind. And in these bi-monthly common experiences, the students are creating a culture of norms that are similar in experiences, and it's what we are and who we believe. So this MI Lift program helps to create independent learners that are ready to take on challenges in school and in life. The goal is to combine all of the work of our 3 Big Rocks and create streamlined learning experiences to help our students lead in the future themselves. So we lift at MI to be MI Strong.
I'm Laura Tonkin. I'm a Mindful Makers teacher over at MI, and I'm especially excited about our Lift lessons because it combines everything that is good in academics, but it takes a look at the whole child, specifically self-regulation and different aspects of mental wellness. Now, leading into the future together, just the teachers is, you only get so far. We are very fortunate. I am especially fortunate to have taught all of these young people. And when Mr. Messer said, hey, who are some leaders that kind of stick out to you? It was so easy. So these 5 individuals are really kind of a nice sampling of some of our students that have been partaking in Lift lessons, but more importantly, are going to carry those lessons out into the real world and apply them in various situations that they'll see in the future. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Merrick.
Hello, I'm Merrick McClure, and leadership to me is determination. A leader is a flashlight during a dark, stormy night, someone who will not only guide someone, but walk it every step of the way with them. Leadership is about teamwork. It's important for a leader to listen to others' voices and is willing to accept change. By doing this, the leader will receive loyalty and respect from their team. But most importantly, leadership is thinking of the benefit of others and not so much themselves. The success of all is always tied to the success of one. It was an honor to speak here tonight, and something that I've tied from the LIFT lessons is the zones of regulation, because it really helps listen to someone's voice, just like leaders have to do in the real world. If you want to talk to people, you have to understand where they're coming from, and I think the zones of regulation really shows that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elise Hapkin, and what leadership means to me is when people are going through a difficult time and someone or a group of people decide to rise to the occasion to help people out through a difficult time. And regardless of what their fears say or what their family says or what their friends say, they keep on doing what they're doing because they know that the sacrifice is worth it. And one thing that we learned in the LIFT lessons is that they consider and press pause and just make sure to control your emotions. So these leaders think about what they're going to do and how it might affect others. So that is what leadership means to me.
Hello, my name is Alex Noggle, and I'm a 6th grade student at MI. What leadership means to me is always looking at what will help others and always showing kindness and respect toward everyone and including everyone, and always looking out to bring the best in all of the people around you, whether it's at school or in group work or just around in life. And what I've learned from the LIFT lessons is how to help self-regulate yourself in the way to understand others' emotions so you can work to help do stuff to help others. And I've also thought that it was great how the LIFT lessons always have an overarching lesson of always inclusivity and kindness and respect toward all your peers at school and till for the rest of your life. Thank you for letting me speak here today.
My name is Dion Johnson, and leadership to me means to be empathetic, kind, and responsible. An example of being MI strong, or having MI lift, is to help others. Personally, what I've learned from the MI lift is helping others even if you're struggling yourself. Helping others can lead to, helping others can help yourself and plenty of people around you. Seeing your friends struggle is the last thing you would want to do, and helping them just brightens your day. Thank you for letting me speak here.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Nishta Patel. Leadership means to me that staying positive whatever you're going through. And one thing I learned from the LIFT lessons is a learning pit where if you're struggling to do something, you have to find a solution how to get out of the pit, and staying kind and being helpful to others. Thank you.
What a delight. Thank you so much, MI Lift team. Thanks for being here tonight. I would like to ask if all of you, the students, would come up here just for a second. You could help me to deliver a gift as well, and the board may have a few questions for you. So before you come over, if you would just stand right over here on the carpet area. There's a little black carpet Mr. Petrie's pointing to. If any board members have any maybe questions for you about lift lessons or leadership experiences that you've had, and then you can help me deliver a gift as well. Turn it over.
I just love every time we have kids come in to make a presentation for the board that is about something that is above and beyond the things that you learn in the classroom. For you to want and have the desire to connect on higher levels and other levels with people that may not necessarily be in your classroom every day, and that you are focusing on how you can help yourselves, but you can also help others by inspiring others, and you can accomplish so much more. And kids your age and younger that understand that and have a commitment and a drive to do that, it's just very impressive, and I think you all have very bright futures in front of you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to add, that podium is one of the toughest places to stand and say anything at all. So anytime anybody comes to that podium, I am so appreciative that they wanted to offer some words, but especially so with students in our district. And I wanted to just commend all of you for, it's clear that you had a message that you wanted to deliver it, and you delivered it with confidence. And I want to give a special shout out, to, I thought all of you did a great job, but especially to Dion, because I really enjoyed I can't tell you how many times I've sat up here and what I have up here doesn't match what comes out here. And watching you tackle your message and not give up on it and deliver it through the end was awesome, man. And you guys all did a great job. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are the reason we do this.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for being here and also echo, I know how hard it is to stand at the podium and speak in front of a crowd. That's such a good experience for you at this age, and you guys are going to be great at it as you get older. I do want to know what made you did you join this team? Was it a application process? Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, they picked us, and then.
All right, Merrick, you go over there and speak, because otherwise nobody else can hear you.
So they picked us. They actually came to us a while ago, and what they did was they called us into Mr. Messer's office, and Mr. Messer said, "Hey, you were picked for this. Would you like to do this? We just wanted to make sure that it's okay with you, because some kids are more shy than others." And I think it's a really great experience to be here, and it's an honor to talk to you all.
Do you know who the they is? Was it the FBI? Who's the they?
Miss Tonkin picked us. Sorry.
So I've got a secret weapon. I've got a 6th grader who is learning the lift lessons. And so my question for you guys is, how often do you have to remind your parents of those things? Because I just don't want to be the only one that to regulate my emotions. So your parents are awesome. That's great. So are you guys finding that you're sharing this with parents, friends, cousins, classmates? You guys?
Classmates mostly.
Yeah.
I share with my younger brother a lot because he sometimes just cannot control his emotions.
Good stuff.
I might just follow up on that and give you this little tip that when you've been around the sun as many times I have, is that you learn by experience. But you're actually impacting your classmates and your brothers and sisters without even knowing that you're doing it. And this happens for people that are taking on challenges and excelling at a high level and being recognized by your teachers and other things, is that as you carry yourself, the impact you have on others is just as important. The impact you don't know you have on others is just as important as the impact that you're intentionally trying to manage through your leadership traits. And it's always important to remember, whether you're the best high jumper in the world and everyone looks at you and is really impressed, or somebody who carries themselves well, speaks well, others look to when there's a challenge to figure out how to tackle that challenge. That's something that you all are doing that helps with the culture in our schools, with your classmates, your teachers appreciate it, and the impact is widespread. Anybody that tries to exhibit those traits is something that, as you grow up, you'll realize has an amplified impact. And I'm incredibly impressed and glad you're here, and I appreciate your parents and your teachers. We see them doing some great things, and this is right up there with them. So thank you all for being here.
And we'd like you to come up and join us, and we'd like to congratulate you personally. We have a little gift for you.
And maybe they can hand the board.
So we have a gift
board.
So why don't each of you grab one of these. This is right here from Mr. White, and take this to him.
And then if you'll
Grab the little-
stand by, we might take a picture with everyone together. That might be nice.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I've seen this. Thank you for this.
Make sure you get one of these.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, guys. Proud of you
You're
guys.
fine, no problem.
Yeah, if the board will step out front and then maybe the
get one of those?
students, stand by the board members.
Thank you. There you go, thank you.
Did a good job.
I forgot. So, yeah, what about me?
That looks great. 1, 2, 3. Can you tell we're smiling? I do.
Oh, yes, totally.
Very good. Thank
Yep.
Get the extra stickers we can give right here, these four right here. Mr. Cooper has one, I believe.
I just got one, yep.
Let's stick it, they've got one.
You did such a good job. Thank you.
And those lift stickers were helped paid for by the Mason Smith Foundation, a grant. Yeah.
Awesome, well, thank you so very much for being here tonight. Thank you for our gift.
Look on the back of my son's computer. And he's always like, Dad.
Need this on the phone most days. Regulation.
Yes.
I think we can go.
Well, I want to thank our MI crew again for coming. I want to thank the parents for coming tonight and having your child selected tonight to be here to speak about such an important topic in our world today, and that's leadership. We're just so grateful. So parents, thank you so much. MI group, thank you. And speaking to our board, you're talking to them about leadership. Being a board member is one of those leadership positions, one of the most important positions in a community, because they're there supporting you. They're there supporting the future, literally the future. There's a lot of jobs out there that have, and companies that have boards, and they talk about products, they talk about branding, they talk about all these different things. Well, the board here gets to talk about the future and how can we make a better future for tomorrow. And just to hear you talk, to use some of the words that you use: kindness, positivity, responsibility, empathy, listening, inclusivity, just all the things that you're learning, that you're passing on to the next generation. And you will be potentially board members in making those decisions. So don't think that that's not something that could be in your future, because it could be. And so we're so grateful for you to be here, and so thankful for our 5 board members in our community in Mason for serving, and all the board members that have served before you, because it's hard work, and we've gone through 2 years, really hard work. That's just not easy, and it's a thankless job. So we want to thank you as a community for your service. And let's just give everybody a big hand, our board and all that.
Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for this gift. It's a humbling experience. We've been very fortunate through the years the district has always recognized the board, and we don't certainly feel like, we're so grateful for the staff that we have. We don't do the work. Our staff does the work. And it just makes it a very enjoyable job.
Well, we do appreciate you. We know every item you vote on and second and motion is something that is impacting our kids and our agenda, so it matters. In each of your bags, you have a personalized copy of a book that was donated to us from the author. This is just releasing today on Amazon. So I had him write, I know him, so I had him write a quick note to you personally and just thanking you for your service in our community as well. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jonathan, you should hold the book up. The author was kind enough, yeah.
Yes, so Ryan Hawk's book does release today, and I think it's on Amazon today, but we got the version from his home.
Saved me an Audible credit, thank you.
That's right.
So hopefully you'll enjoy that pursuit of excellence and just some of the great leadership lessons that they've learned along the way.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anyone else? Okay. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the hearing of the public.
Do we want to have a pause in case?
Yes, we can do that. I'm sorry. My mistake. We usually do take a pause here. And if you were here for the presentations, you can go home, do your homework, visit with your siblings.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you guys for coming to speak tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Who do I
forgot
talk
about
to about auditing a lift course?
We can make that happen. Yeah. Let me know. We'll make that happen.
I'd have to sub probably.
Subbing would be helpful, yes.
I'd trade my premium pay for a course audit.
Okay. Now we'll move on. Hearing of the public tonight. Each meeting, we have a hearing of the public, and each person gets 3 minutes to give the board the information that they came tonight to express. The board does not deliberate or decide an issue. We don't go back and forth. It's a presentation of information from our community. Each person is allotted 3 minutes until we have used our 30 minutes of total time designated to hearing of the public. In order to prevent disclosure of students' or employees' private information, we don't allow the complaints or harassment of employees or students in public session. If you need to have a private meeting with administration or board, you can always request that. And the first person we have tonight is Emily Huseman. If you would please just state your name and your address. And you're coming tonight to speak about the masking in class.
Did you say I need to say my name and address? My name is Emily Houseman. I live at 6835 Lakewood Drive in Mason. I believe my sheet says I'm talking about inclusion, in addition to, I did have mask on there as well, but I wanted to share with you a story. Last week I had to leave the meeting early. As is often the case, I'm running kids around town, so I left, and in the lobby I happened to talk to a woman who had arrived late to the meeting. And she said, I didn't make it in time to see the swearing-ins because I tried that door, and then I tried that door, and looking at this door that's right here closest to this room, it's the least inviting, the ones, and I have to say, walking up tonight again, I looked again and I noticed, I could see that the MI kids were in the lobby, but it's very dark, it's not inviting. And so as I reflected on how unfortunate it was that the entrance to this meeting was unwelcoming to newcomers, I was reminded of a policy or a practice that takes place in many meetings that I noticed that I hope you will consider discontinuing, which is that frequently when extra people are at the meeting, you invite people to leave instead of inviting them to stay for the rest of the meeting. And I understand that children will have to leave. As I said, I had to leave early. But I think that when we think about our school having an aspiration to be inclusive in culture, one of the things we could do is make this meeting more inclusive. That includes making the lighting better on the doors, but also not making it a practice to invite people to leave the meeting. So I hope that you will consider making that different. I understand maybe having a pause, but not suggesting that people should be encouraged to leave the meeting. I want to thank Charles for mentioning how hard it is to stand up at this podium, because it is terrifying, but after those children, I felt like I should at least give it a go. And I do want to thank you for masking. As a substitute teacher in the schools, it's a lot easier for me to feel comfortable and safe, as if the community is taking care of me when everybody, or most everybody, is wearing a mask. And I also feel like that's safer for the children and staff members who maybe cannot wear a mask for whatever reason. So if the more of us mask, the more of us we take care of each other. So thank you for that, and I would like to ask you to continue it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Katie, is it Hauer?
Hello, my name is Katie Hauer, and I live at 5405 Harvestdale Drive in Mason. I am a 26-year resident of the school district, and I too would like to thank you all for your decision to require masking in the schools. It broke my heart to be here 2 weeks ago and hear those students who said they felt unsafe. And I think all that we can do to keep our community safe is very, very important. So I applaud that. My children are also both proud graduates of Mason schools. They went K through 12 through the schools, and I am a huge supporter, even though I'm an empty nester. And that is kind of what really brings me here today, which is to discuss the voucher issue. On January 4th of this year, an organization called Vouchers Hurt Ohio filed a lawsuit through the Walter Haverfield law firm to fight against Ohio's experimental and detrimental to public education voucher school bill. I do not pretend at all up here to be a financial expert. I'm not. In fact, numbers kind of give me a headache, but I did contact a member of Vouchers Hurt Ohio, and they did some preliminary numbers for me. And what I received was that our ADM during last school year was 9,978 students, and that our funding per student was approximately $4,226. I'm sure our treasurer can get those exact numbers for you. A voucher equivalent last year was $6,115. If you do the math, that means that if the state were funding our students at the same level they're funding students that go to private schools, we would have an additional $18.8 million. It is the fiduciary responsibility of this school board to make sure that our tax dollars are going to fund our public schools. The premise of the lawsuit has several facets to it, but primary amongst that is that our Constitution, Ohio's Constitution, requires a thorough and efficient system of public education. Not multiple systems of public education, not multiple systems that include religious schools, private schools, charter schools that we all know are definitely not monitored and often end up losing the taxpayers a lot of money. So I am just here today, and my time's running out, to ask that the board consider joining that lawsuit. These young people talked about leadership. Let's be leaders. I know we feel sometimes that we're such a wonderful district that people wouldn't want to leave our district, but they are. And we need to make sure that those tax dollars are staying with our students. Thank you very much. And Worthington and Westerville, just to name a couple, are districts with similar demographics to ours that have already joined the lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up tonight, we have Edward Perdue.
Good evening. My name is Edward Perdue. I live at 301 East Circle Drive here in Mason. I'm here to talk about current events, which is critical race theory, once again. Critical race theory is Marxist socialist indoctrination to children and must be stopped in Ohio, America, and the world. In Virginia, Governor Youngkin banned CRT and the school mask requirements, which is great news. In Florida, the Department of Education has banned critical race theory. In Ohio, Governor DeWine opposes critical race theory, but supports teaching the ugly parts. Why not teach the East India Trading Company to show that slavery was around way before the United States of America? Ohio school board member Kristen Hill says she is seeing Ohio education system being damaged and deteriorating under critical race theory and transgender philosophies being taught in our state's schools. Do you support critical race theory? According to PragerU, CRT is masked as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, rooted in critical race theory. Basically, if you're a minority, the system is rigged against you. While people that are white are said to be privileged, should apologize for a race. This is bunk. It's divide and conquer theory, setting up the old oppressor-oppressed mindset. It's nothing new under the sun. We're blessed to be alive and to stand and speak and take action to defend America and American values. The Board of Education is turning into a mockingbird on steroids. Do you support critical race theory in Mason? Again, thank you for letting me speak tonight. This issue's not going away. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker tonight is Owen Smith.
My name is Owen Smith. I live at 5535 Wheatmore Court. I would like to thank each school board member for their service to the Mason City Schools District. And I'd also like to thank them for mandating masks since I last spoke on January 11th. I'd also like to thank Ian Orr for being the only person from the Mason City Schools to reach out to me after the last board meeting when I spoke. Thank you for checking on me. Now I have a question for all. Since there have been almost 1,000 student COVID cases since winter break, will you please extend the temporary mask mandate? And again, thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, our next speaker is Jenna, is it Tenacey?
Hi, I'm Jenna. I live on Mason Montgomery Road. As we near the end of the temporary mask mandate, I just wanted to make sure you're all aware of the current situation in schools here in Mason. Just today, my 8-year-old told me that her teacher was absent today, and there was no substitute given to her. So she spent the morning in the classroom alone with the kids until they went next door, where the switch teacher took all of the kids. They didn't switch as normal. They had all 50 kids in one classroom, and this isn't one of those big double classrooms with the open removable door. It's a single classroom with 50+ students for most of the day. So today I was thankful for the temporary mask mandate. 50 kids in a classroom. I can't even imagine how there would be spacing possible. So thank you for now. But that's not all. They weren't in there all day by themselves, or they weren't in that one classroom all day. At parts of the day, they did go back to their own classroom. So they were in a classroom without an assigned teacher. So the switch teacher covered both classrooms, even though they were not connected. So here I am, thankful they went back to their own classroom with space, but the supervision was maybe lacking. So I'm having to decide which one I prefer. I never thought I'd have to choose between the two. So I believe what happened in my daughter's situation today in her classroom, I think that's clear evidence that staffing is not adequate in our district just yet. So since the temporary mask mandate was put in place due to inadequate staffing, I think consideration should be given to an extension on this mandate until staffing is appropriate. I understand that the mandate will be dropped at some point, but given that my 8-year-old did not have a teacher today, I don't think now is the time. If a mask mandate could keep even one teacher spared from illness, my child might have had a teacher today. So I ask, when considering in the next few days the end of this temporary mask mandate, I ask that there's an extension and that you can keep all of the students in the school safe and with a teacher to guide them. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Manish. You'll have to help me with the last name. Is it Godbella? Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'm Dr. Manisha Godbole. Thank you for allowing me to, my address 3283 Spalding Drive here in Mason. I've got 2 daughters in Mason School District. So thank you for allowing me to express my opinions and concerns tonight. Being in your position is not an easy task, and the past couple of years have definitely been very challenging and exhausting to all of us. So I thank you, all the teachers and the staff at MCS, for continuously working hard. And I want to specifically thank the leaders who are always taking out time to answer our parents' emails. And you know who you are. Knowing as a parent that our concerns are at least being heard is really nice. So just a couple of points. Earlier on, in the COVID data that MCS published, there used to be staff numbers. And then suddenly, sometime in late fall, they weren't published anymore. So I just wanted to know, for the continued purpose of transparency, why those changes were made. And also I wanted to suggest if MCS could publish weekly stats. In reality, those numbers help some of us parents to decide whether to send their child to school or not, especially for those high-risk health categories. But sometimes seeing those numbers daily increases parental and students' anxiety levels as well. So that data is only effective if followed by actions. For example, when we knew community spread was very high, we shouldn't have wasted 2 weeks to follow known and proven mitigation processes. But nevertheless, thank you for finally taking steps, and I hope and urge you that you'll continue to watch this over the coming weeks and continue to make changes as needed. Effective learning doesn't mean just being in school buildings, but it also involves effective teaching by trained teachers while all stay safe and healthy. I understand educators aren't medical professionals, and hence it's very important to follow the guidelines by health professionals and adjust and adapt based on their expertise. A good education provides students with tools to right thinking that enables them to understand the world around them. So when school leaders reflect missed messaging through their policies, the world becomes confusing to them. So just today, there were MI students here, and I wanted to share this with you all, that once I heard my then MI student tell her friend that she was being below line and she needs to be above the line, and then what she was doing wasn't being MI strong. And her friend immediately recognized her bad behavior and apologized. It was just that simple. And then And then I asked my daughter, what was this all about? So she told me about this, our culture, big rock number 1. That's the culture block, and that clearly states culture is how we behave and the experience our behavior produces for others. And documents don't build culture, our attitudes, actions, and words do. So let's hope our school policies continue to reflect our own big rock. Thank you.
Next speaker is Trisha Hilton Mills.
Hi, my name is Trisha Hilton Mills. I live at 535 Shawnee Lane in Mason, Ohio, and I have 2 children who go to Mason schools, one at ME and one at MM. I hate when people read things, but I lose track of things, so I'm going to read this. I am here to speak about the need for continued masking for all and about the need for increased mitigation efforts in regards to the spread of COVID. Recently, I was fortunate enough to participate in a Zoom call given by the Surgeon General of the United States. It was about parenting during COVID. He encouraged families with concerns to speak to their school boards and he reminded us that the American Rescue Plan had money for testing at schools, and schools were targeted to get those tests. The Surgeon General stated, if contact tracing gets undoable due to the number of sick, we should go to surveillance testing and masks. He also mentioned that there was funding in the American Rescue Plan for that. Reach out to the governmental organizations. He stated that often we underestimate the power of speaking up, especially when people need it, and right now that's our kids. I was wondering if we had HVAC upgrading and where and what was done. There are filtration systems called MERV13 that can filter virus-sized particles, and I think that's something that we could be using. The CDC has said a lot of things recently. One thing that they have said is that we need to use better masks, and 95 masks ideally. Now, I know it's really hard. I was talking to my daughter about wearing her mask tonight, and she's just like, they're the wrong size. It fits me, but it doesn't fit my friend. So I get it. It's hard for the kids. But I think as an employer, the school district should be behooved to provide N95 masks for the staff. A lot of the lunch ladies and a lot of the bus drivers, they're at higher risk. I also encourage you to encourage the staff to become fully vaccinated and get boosted, because boosters decrease your chance of hospitalization by 90%. We listen to the children give wonderful speeches about leadership, helping others, and listening to others. However, the social contract has been broken. We need to start doing something that will save lives, reduce healthcare costs, and reduce the strain on our healthcare workers and hospital systems. Mostly, we need to reduce the potential for unknown effects of COVID. Right now, the variants we're seeing, Omicron or whatever it's morphing into, is less of a risk of hospitalization compared to Delta, but due to the wildly contagious aspect of it, we're seeing more patients than we were with Delta. And it's usually unvaccinated or unboosted people, or sadly, as the CDC director said so unwell, people with comorbidities, people who are already sick. But those people are important, and we have a lot of those children in our school district. I don't know if you know this, but right now the National Guard is helping at the University of Cincinnati. Okay, I would really like to send the rest of this to someone. Today, my child was diagnosed by her pediatrician with something called COVID toes. Her toes are black and purple. And she never got diagnosed with COVID, and now she has this. We don't know what's happening to our children, and we as adults need to protect them from the unknown side effects. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers this evening. The next item on the board's agenda tonight is 7 non-district funded positions. Quite a few considerations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Sean?
Mrs. Bacci?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin, or Mr.
Yes.
Wise? Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Ms. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Number 8 is certified personnel superintendent recommendations. Again, there's quite a few items on here. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And discussion.
Well, one thing I just want to draw your attention to, one, under appointments, you can see that we continue to add substitute teachers to make sure that we have adequate subbing in place. This week has been much better than last week. I'll look into a specific case that we heard tonight, but overall, that's been, we've had coverage. Item D, temporary COVID support specialist. We have a strategy specifically at our middle school building that we are trying. We have 3 subs that we've assigned specifically to that building as long-term subs. We've raised the daily rate of those 3 people. We have them all in place now, and we're just approving this so that we can move forward to keep them in place to help cover, because that's been our hardest building to have coverage in the middle school, or we just have not had as much coverage there. So we've had to problem solve that. So just so you know, those are the items that you're voting on tonight to move those forward. We're excited for that. Hopefully that helps us to begin to solve something that we've been trying to solve for the last couple of years, and that is that sub coverage. I did have a Zoom meeting that was an open meeting to any subs in the community that were willing to jump on to talk to them a little bit about what does a day in the life look like as a sub, because that can be a scary thing. So if you're watching this now, being a sub in our building is one of the most rewarding moments that you will experience, even if it's something you want to try temporarily, even if it's one day a week. It allows you to connect with kids, to, like you saw tonight, to be energized. Our teachers do a wonderful job of setting that stage for you. So when you walk in, that stage is set for you, and you have a team of people to support you. So if you're interested in that, please come here. We do have premium pay in place at this point in time. So reach out to Tanya McCall, myself, anyone here, and we would be happy to bring you on board. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Jonathan. I know one of the challenges is having consistency with the environment, with staff. And I think the long-term positions was a good idea on your part. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, Sean?
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacci?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 10 is contracted personnel, some independent contractors.
We got
We gotta go 9.
We got 9.
9.
I'm sorry, did I speed on by there? 9 is certificated adjustments of salary, superintendent's recommendations. We have some teachers who have continued their education, their personal education for being teachers in our schools. I need a motion
So move.
Second?
and discussion.
Just want to congratulate these teachers. Ongoing learning is something that we want to model for our kids all the time. We are a community of learners, and so these teachers continue to plug away at that. Being someone who's continuing to plug away at his continued education, I appreciate the time and energy they're putting into this. So congratulations, teachers, and thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Sean?
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacci?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
5-0.
Now we'll go with number 10. Contracted personnel, independent contractors. I need a motion
So move.
Second.
and discussion. The Tier 2 counseling services, I assume, is a part of our continued effort to support our students with mental health initiatives and in the classroom as well.
Yes, continuing to support. We do have a position that we are looking at tonight that is someone has actually worked with our students previous to now, and we are just now paying them for that work. So they had already done their work throughout the year. It's someone we've worked with before in contracted services. So we're making that right by getting that onto our board agenda to pay for it.
Does the 4 languages, Uzbek, Russian, Kazakh, and Kurz. Is that added to our total number of language spoken in our district?
I do know that our number, I think, is around 75 is a number I keep coming back to. So we are always adding, and I don't know if they're new necessarily, but these may be new interpreters that maybe we haven't worked with or we just got them signed up. Sometimes there are different agencies that we're trying to pull in. But yeah, with 75 languages, anytime we can, we're bringing people on. And sometimes it's a specific situation that we might bring an interpreter in to do some specific work that a family needs that's more comprehensive to make sure that they feel that they can communicate all the things that they need as a family. Yeah, great question. And yes, the tier 2 again was the behavior and support. So,
Any other comments? Seeing none, Sean?
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is item 11, supplemental personnel, superintendent's recommendations. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
nope, just spring sports getting ready to open up. And so if that's something that you are looking forward to as a student athlete here, we're excited for you as well, because I know our winter sports are coming to a close soon. So,
Yep. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Sean?
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 12, resolution for hiring non-certified personnel, superintendent's recommendations. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And discussion? I don't think any of these are actually new positions, are they, Jonathan?
these are actually positions we are, maybe they covered a game, and so we're paying them for that, or they helped out with an assistant coaching. You'll see some things on here like .75. They shared a contract or a supplemental with another coach. Sometimes those are certified and classified folks sharing, so you'll see those numbers on here to reflect that. But nothing new at this time, just paying people for the work that they're doing with our kids.
And we're grateful we have people who are willing to step in and do that work.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Sean?
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 13 is classified personnel, superintendent's recommendations. Quite a few items on that, too. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just to walk you through a couple items here, you have on item A, the change of status essentially just indicates that someone's moving from one position to another, so we need to reflect that on here because it does change how the payment goes out. So that's what you'll see kind of going back and forth on that first item there. We do have Mary, who has been just a wonderful part of our team over at MECC, is retiring in March, and we hope to see her back someday, joining us possibly in the future. But she's been a great person in the Dream Lab in helping to see the evolution of that at MECC. And I think the other piece here I will point out to you, like item F that's new, we have a gentleman named Mark that does a lot of the logistics for food services. One thing we often just take for granted is that we are the largest food service organization in Warren County, and probably in that surrounding area. And it takes a lot of logistics to get things from place to place, whether it's it could be anything from a machine part to a meal. And so Mark does that. You'll see the white van moving from place to place often in our district. What we don't have in place is a line item for a substitute for him. And so if we're going to move someone from one position to cover him if he's out, we needed to have something in our document here approved so that we knew what rate we could pay them at. So that's what this is reflecting here. We just need to add that in. Mark is okay, but we just want to be proactive and have that in place.
Thank you. We also have a retirement on here. Mary Berlin's been here for a while with us now. Wish her well. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 14, classified personnel, additional duties. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a reflection here of, these are just specialized aids to allow for extracurricular activity support for students in programming. So it just reflects that this is something that is, we just recognize them for going through that and making sure that they are appropriately approved here for additional duties and paid appropriately.
Anything further? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 15 is the superintendent's recommendations, action items. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
This is quite a few items, some new courses. I, for one, am very happy to see the royalty trucking lease renewed. Thank you, Mr. Petrie, for negotiating that for us. It's a beneficial contract for the district.
So the first two items on here, Mr. Petrie brought to the Facilities Committee to review. So you mentioned the lease contract, which is, it's increasing this year. We're happy to have them. They're in the White House, that property right behind the middle school. We have the intermediate parking lot replacement. So those are just some lighting that it's kind of on our ongoing maintenance schedule. So we're getting those replaced. And then the bottom three, the C, D, and E, all of those courses and materials have gone through a thorough process. They go through the Student Achievement Committee that's led by Deputy Superintendent Amy Brennan. As they go through that process, then through good conversation with our board, we added an additional layer so that, because there's so much conversation around curriculum and community input, we added a layer where we invited open sessions in collaboration with our PTOs at each building. We had one that was online, one that was in person, I believe, or maybe a couple, or maybe they're all online. I don't remember. I remember the online version. And we allowed folks to come in, see what we're proposing in each of our building levels, ask good questions, and then it went to the board for a first reading at our December. Was that all the way back to December? Because the last was an organizational meeting. So this is now second reading and approval. So that's that whole process that it goes through. During that reading process, people can ask questions, see what's going on. So this is the final step of that. And the reason that's important for you to know at this time is because that whole timeline has to take place in order for it to be ready for the students to actually select these courses coming up soon. Because course selection, believe it or not, starts up in the next few weeks. That kids can get signed up, is actually already open for some of our kids. So they're starting to put those plans together, and then we'll do some final approval in the next few weeks. So that's the general process that goes through.
Do we have each one of these classes staffed? Do we have an idea of who would be?
That's part of that approval process, is that you have to have a plan for staffing that it would fit in, but then we look at who actually signs up for the courses to make sure that's actually going to fill the position, and then we begin moving through staffing. So simultaneous to this conversation that's going on, Tanya McCall, our Chief Talent Officer, is working through, I think we're on meeting 4 now, or 3 or 4 in our staffing process, where buildings go through and they do a full assessment of their needs. They bring that to us. We set guardrails for them. We go back and forth. Today we had, was it today? Yesterday maybe? This week we had our other meeting. We'll have another meeting tomorrow with the principals. I do, to just finalize some pieces, and then we'll go back and talk with them. So that will all align. If these courses get filled, then we'll have staffing, and it won't be adding additional FTE or additional staffing necessarily. It will be looking at all of our staff and seeing how does that shift based on the need. And so there's a lot of logistics behind it, but our teachers work with us, our teachers' leaders work with us, so it's not something we do isolated with us. We actually have a lot of people input on that. It's a lot of moving parts, and somehow it always lands. And we try to be as consumer-driven as possible in those. Teachers bring us wonderful ideas, and most of the time those go. Every once in a while, they may not, but most of the time, the teacher has a good sense of what's going on in the room and what's needed, and so that's how it makes it all the way through the process.
So I want to take this opportunity to point out a critical issue in the approval of educational content for course curriculum and so forth, and how important it is to have strong leaders in position to help filter this work. And we've talked about this quite a bit, but the old days, a lot of Supreme Court cases are about a textbook that a school board approves or doesn't approve. And that textbook is a tangible thing. It's printed. It's right here. You can look at it. It sits there on, sometimes, we probably had textbooks in school that might have been in their 10th year, because history, is history. And you have some curriculum that you need to cover and so forth, and that's the case. But today, a lot of the content associated with new courses is part of the broader ecosystem of digital content. And so the course I just want to call our attention to, Decoding the Digital Universe. I can't think of anything more critical for our students to understand how to do. So I'm thrilled that this is on our agenda and that we're approving it tonight. I want to just point out, though, that as a part of this, there are digital components to this course offering, one of which is a magazine called Upfront. And it's owned by the New York Times, and it's under their foundation, their nonprofit foundation, which is great. Lately, I think the New York Times has been nonprofit on its profit side too. But that content changes all the time. And the New York Times loves to have things in the news. That's how they make money. That's how they sell things. And when that encroaches upon the content that our students use, it puts upon our teachers a much bigger responsibility to help filter that. Because this is where content can come in that we don't approve, but it's in because it's an article in the Upfront magazine that we approved. And that I don't want to be a control freak over everything, and that's not the world that we live in. But it's a dynamic that's really important, that we can't approve things that are dynamic in a very static way. In other words, we can't just forget. And so I'm supportive of this, but I do want to take the opportunity to call out that I hate the burden that it puts on our teachers to have to make sure and put through their filter, hey, this is an article that I might just skip on by, because you know what? It just doesn't need to be part of what we talk to kids about in middle school. And, so there's angst on my part to approve digital content of any kind, but I realize that's the world that we live in, and we got to do it in a responsible way. So just take the opportunity to call it out and remind people about how that works. And I don't know if we have any extra Upfront magazine subscriptions as part of this, but if there is, I'd love to be a part of that. So thanks.
Any other comments?
I'll just add to that, I appreciate, those comments, Kevin, and reminds me, I appreciate the diligence and the time that the members of our Student Achievement Committee put into this, who include, some of those teachers that you spoke about, as well as, board members, and occasionally, well, not occasionally, they include, parents and members of our community. And giving them the opportunity to, look through these concepts, these proposed courses, that one being one of them, but also some of these other language courses. Everything goes through that process, and the feedback that we get from that is important to guiding and refining these proposals, and gives us the confidence to the extent we can, feel confident about voting and improving these, as you said, dynamic courses in a static kind of way. It's one of those things where, today you hear a lot of talk about parental involvement and input in what is being taught in public schools. And I think that our, setup and our process for that is very, very crucial to maintaining that. And it's something that I know our community values and appreciates, being able to give that input, both through that, that committee and through, the public hearings and the readings that we do here as a board.
And I would extend an invitation to anyone that might be tuning in. If they ever want to see, I know Amy and her team do a fabulous job. Happy to sit down with people if they have specific questions or they need clarification on something that we may or may not do, or maybe something does change or pops up, because that does happen to all of us. Just bringing that to our attention is always helpful and appreciated. So that's an open invitation to anyone.
Being part of Student Achievement Committee under Amy, I will say that it's evident the amount of work that you and your team put into that, and it's equally as evident that you invite input from everyone that takes part in this process. It's really not, there was a parent on our committee, but their involvement was somewhat limited. You are very welcoming of all of the components, and I think that's what makes it work. So thank you so very much for that.
Got a great team.
Yes, we do. Thank you. I'm glad to have it.
And I just want to clarify. My comments were initiated with, I'm thrilled with the leadership that we have. It's the complexity and the static nature or the dynamic nature of that content that outlives the focus of the process, which means we have to be extra diligent. And that's my call out, because that content can change at any time and change the entire kind of tone or conversation that was had throughout the process. And we need to be ready to be agile enough to flex that and act accordingly. And so that's the point. So I don't want it to be lost on anyone that, I have a vested interest in that as well, and I think it's a great process. But this digital content is just something that I think needs to be called out so that people can remain aware that we're not approving a static set of content, and that's critical. So
The valid point. It's just something that's happening.
yeah.
And I also wanted to point out the work on the parking lot. I think we have some savings in that, as well as increased safety.
Yes.
Would you want to comment, or you don't have to comment, but.
Oh, no, I LED, it's mind-blowing compared to all these courses, no doubt about it. But nonetheless, we did have the opportunity with the LED bulbs. Those prices have significantly come down. Right now, the HID bulbs that we have out there, they only last 25,000 hours and they're 450 watts. So one thing they love is to consume energy. With the new LED bulbs, they'll be 150 watts with increased lumens, and those last 214 hours. Now, why that's a big deal to operations, number one, it's a significant savings. Number two, each year we're having to change those lights, and we do not own a bucket truck. So we have to hire someone with a bucket truck to come out, and that old style of light is extremely expensive. So this is a real benefit that we've been able to get these taken care of, and it's much appreciated.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is the treasurer's report, and with a motion
So moved.
and a second,
Seconded.
I'll turn it over to you, Sean, so you can enlighten us.
Sure, a couple things to highlight tonight. Under Section F, there's some new funds being created. First thing I will do is recognize Mr. Fish in the middle school and thank him for, in the midst of everything going on, we all know everybody's plates are full, but he went out and solicited a grant to help fund some additional activities in the classroom. So he got a $5,000 grant. So this is the new fund being created to track those dollars. So appreciation to him and his hard work to provide experiences for our kids there in the middle school. A couple other funds being created over the last few months. Anybody who's watched these meetings or attended these meetings has heard us talk a lot about COVID funding or ESSER funds and the grant and the small amount of grant funds that Mason was receiving relative to other school districts. Mr. Cooper did a lot of work over the last few months petitioning the state to try to get additional funds. We did see those approved last month, so these are 2 new funds to track those dollars. So appreciative of his efforts and appreciative of the state agreeing with that and sending us some additional dollars. So we have some of these dollars will be spent through the fall of '23. Some of them we have till the fall of '24 to spend, but these are the funds that we'll use to track those new dollars. Under item H, some donations, comment coverage seems like it's on here every month. Casey Moran and her team working hard to go out and find dollars that can provide items that families and kids need. So thank you to her and for her team, and thank you to the donors here tonight for those. And then also some additional PPE and things that we can use for our kids and families. So those are kind of the highlights in that section tonight.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Treasurer's reporting. That we'd have comments on the ESSER, for sure. Okay, seeing none, Sean?
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is committee reports, and I think we only had one that has met since
Correct.
the last meeting.
I'll turn it over to Tracy, I know is there, so go ahead and jump in. if
We
you want.
did a couple of great things. One, we have a new Mason Schools Foundation board member. We are thrilled to approve Jessica Orr, who's with us tonight as our new Mason Schools Foundation board member. She has been a very active member of our gala committee and really helped to make that event terrific, and everyone was thrilled. And she's also been very involved with our DEI council, and so the board was really excited to welcome Jessica aboard. We also talked about, we have a Catalyst grant that we've been doing now as a foundation. I think, Jonathan, it was your second year here. So when you were in the innovation role, came and said, you know, we'd like some more real time and be able to get multiple times during the year grants out to teachers. And that has worked really well up until COVID, honestly. And our teachers have been so exhausted with really doing all the hard work that they're doing in their classrooms. This year's Catalyst grant has been around our 3 big rocks, and we're excited about that. But the truth is, for where our teachers are right now, it's just been an extra kind of lift to try to think about, just like Mr. Fish, taking his time and all the research and thought that it takes to write a grant. And so we did a second round this time and just didn't really get very many grants. And our grant committee was super excited to think through and say, totally respect where our teachers and educators are. They still want to make sure that we hit the foundation's $100,000 give back every year to the schools. And so they are setting up a meeting with Jonathan and some of our team to just think through what's a big project that might be a bigger ticket. You know, maybe it's a $20,000, a $25,000 big ask that could be a big lift that the foundation would like to be a part of. And that's just the kind of leadership that they give. So if you're an elementary family right now and you have kids reading for the Reading Challenge, give big to that, because those dollars that we raise at the gala, at the Reading Challenge, go to take innovative ideas from our teachers' classrooms, but also can also be big impact on a bigger scale too, and we're excited for that. And so those were, I think, our main things that we talked about.
Thanks, Tracy.
Absolutely, that's big news, thank you. Any other comments?
I think that board appointment was pretty spectacular, and I think they got a really awesome person. So I want to thank the Schools Foundation for recognizing that awesome human being.
Second that.
Smartest guy up here, right?
Congratulations, Jessica, and we appreciate your work on the foundation very much. Next up is item 18, legislative update.
I was just going to touch on one brief thing. There's a House Bill 216 has made some news recently, not really shedding much light on it or taking a position on it one way or the other. It relates to the schools being their ability to kind of be involved in the process of Board of Revision, property tax appeals. Wanted to clarify something with respect to Mason School District, and that is, and Sean, you might be able to help walk me through this a little bit, but a lot of times we'll go through the triennial property tax evaluation process, and people get a letter in the mail advising them of what the value of their, home values are, as well as if they own commercial properties and things like that. And occasionally, there's something that triggers someone to appeal that valuation to the Board of Revisions, and sometimes the schools get involved in that. But with respect to residential properties, this is something that's come up in the news recently, and wanted to just address that, at least as it is in Mason, and certainly in my 4 years on the board, I don't think we've ever challenged a valuation of any residential property. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure for, public consumption, whatever you might read about that bill, it's something that I don't know how it goes in other districts, and again, not weighing in one way or the other as far as, whether the legislation needs to change or not, but that's something that we have not done in my time. I don't think.
I can extend it a lot further. I have no recollection of that being the case ever. And even commercial properties is a very rare situation. Usually has something to do with, a drastic change in use or a comparable sale next door, or a variety of things that might trigger that. But I'm glad you brought this up, because it feels like this is legislation seeking a problem. And I think there's a lot of other things out there they could be working on. So maybe they can educate me differently, but I'm glad you called this one out.
Sure thing. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Next item is administrator commentary. And Tracy, we'll start with you.
Just a few events this Friday on January 28th. We heard from our MI leaders, and one of the things that our high school has done for a long time is just elevate student leadership, and the leaders there are constantly thinking of their impact on our community and the world. And so 2 big events. One is the National Honor Society's talent show, which one is a blast. So if you've never seen our kids doing the talent show, it is terrific. This year, all the proceeds, it's National Honor Society puts it on, but all the charity that they raise for it will be going to the Esther Marietta Hatton Center for Women, the shelter for homeless women in Cincinnati. So a great cause to be that. And then you can duck in right from that at 7:30. The Comet Zone, the leadership there, will be doing the Pink Out at the middle school arena in conjunction with the Oak Hills basketball game, and all the proceeds for that are going to Pink Ribbon Girls. So just 2 great causes that our students are involved in. And then finally, we've talked some about, as a community, how hard it is to lose members of our graduating classes, alumni, and how the pandemic has really impacted that group. We've really been concerned about suicide and depression, and sadly are grieving this week. And so just a huge thank you to our mental wellness team, and partnering with some community partners. We, on next Thursday, February 3rd, from 6 to 8 p.m., are going to have a special edition community conversation geared for alumni and alumni families, partnering with Companions on a Journey. And so just really want to talk about how we can continue to say, just because you've graduated from Mason, you're still part of our family, and we are all going to stay connected.
Thank you. Amy?
Thanks. I'm thinking about all of our staff. The past few weeks, our return from winter break, have been like no others than I think any of us have experienced. And I've talked to people who've been doing this for much longer than me, and it's been really unusual in terms of just the staffing challenges we faced.
And so at all levels of the organization, and the way people have just risen to that challenge and figured it out and been there for each other. I'm sort of a special shout out to our teachers. And I was thinking about this evening, who, and having been in that position at one point, even when, there is a sub in the classroom next to you, it's still a different day, because you're there, you're helping that person, you're making sure they have the sub plans. It's a very different rhythm of your day. And when you're not sure when that's going to happen and when it's not, it's just, and you're expecting to come back fresh, new semester, here we go. And then it's just that sort of ongoing change. So appreciative of all of that they've done every day in and day out, covering classes, giving up planning time, which means they're planning in the evenings or in other times to make sure kids are still having a great experience. And at the same time, we see Laura Tonkin and Lindsay Colvin, and they're just representative of their small number of representing our amazing teachers who are still designing innovative, amazing learning experiences for our kids that are above and beyond. And writing grants to the Schools Foundation to get stickers so we can all sort of be reminded, and developing the course proposals that we saw. I mean, what you see here is teachers who, and you're seeing, as I think Charles mentioned, like draft upon draft. They went back and took feedback and revised. And so the fact that, our teachers are amazing, and all of our staff are, but really pointing that out. And at the same time, and Kevin, I appreciate you bringing up the challenges of the digital world and content that we live in. And that's an extra pressure that they're facing, in terms of they feel that as well, as wanting to make sure that they're really finding the fit for our students and for and families. And it's a new pressure that's emerged over the past, several years. And so just so grateful for the incredible teachers and staff that we can call on and depend on day in and day out. And in Board Appreciation Month, anytime, but thank you for making it happen. So Lindsay Colvin and Laura Tonkin as culture leads, those are roles that, you voted to give them an extra stipend to honor the work that they're doing, and you can see the impact that has here. Being willing to kind of jump in and support innovative sub-solutions like at the middle school that I think will provide a lot of really important relief. So your support for them is felt, and it's so appreciated. So thank you.
Anya?
Just wanted to say thank you. Speaking of rising to the occasion, our community this week, we had record number of people come out and start applying to be subs in our district. So while our office is overwhelmed, we are very excited to be overwhelmed, because there are quite a few sub-applications that went through this week. And so we're hoping that will only increase our efforts to meet the challenges within the classroom. And then to that end, I would like to thank the board for their continued patience and support of any innovative ideas that we come up with to try and meet those continued needs. So thank you.
Great news.
Christine?
I have two items. The first is extending a thank you to the Mason Schools Foundation. The reading challenge, it's fun to see all of the energy in the buildings, and it's just this great element of normalcy when things, you're wearing masks and all this. So it's just really fun. And as having a daughter now who's in first grade at MEC, it's motivating her to read too. So it's not just fundraising, it actually has a secondary benefit of also encouraging students to read even more. So I wanted to extend my appreciation there. And secondly, in honor of you all and one of your past approvals, Carla Mosier that works on my team, she does the Chromebook repair. And as you know, we tried numerous contracts to try to get our Chromebook repairs quickly, get it back into kids' hands expeditiously, but it wasn't happening. Prior to Carla, we were having a 2-week wait time for Chromebooks to be back in kids' hands. We're at 3 days now. We have an accurate inventory, all of those COVID assets going in and out. We have everything inventoried in addition to projectors and all of the fixed assets and the mobile assets. So just thank you. It has helped the team tremendously, and I believe, as far as being fiscally responsible, knowing what we have, being able to keep track of those assets is critical. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also have a couple items tonight. First, I can't thank enough our bus drivers. This past week, on one given day, we had 3 of our 4 office supervisors out. So Joe Kaiser was by himself trying to train me. So if there were any issues out there, it was probably my fault. I apologize, parents. But at that day, we had 21 drivers out one afternoon. And what really just touched me was the drivers would come in and say, anything you need, here's when I'm available. And when they leave in that big yellow wave, you can hear them over the radio, just that level of pride that they're going to deliver what they needed to deliver that day and keep kids safe. It was great. It was just 2 excellent days being able to see that. The second group are our nurses. You know, I see what they're going through from time to time with contact tracing, and they will say to me, look, I won't be here till 10 o'clock tonight, but I am going to make sure that I call these parents and let them know what is going on. I just have never seen a group of people that they are beyond committed. And when I think of healthcare professionals, we are so fortunate to have the 9 nurses that we had led by Kathy Hager. I can't say enough about them.
Thank you, Todd.
I know pretty much every group of staff around the district are working above and beyond tireless hours and all that. I want to take a minute to recognize and appreciate our fiscal office staff team for a couple of reasons. One, last fall, we went through the same process we go through every year where the Auditor State's Office comes in and reviews and audits our gap statements, and as part of that, our accounting processes and transactions. Happy to report that that process finished up in December, and we did receive another clean audit report. That's a direct testament to a lot of people, but in large part, a direct testament to the fiscal office staff and the work that they do, the processes they follow, the diligent efforts they do day in and day out. Second part of that is fresh off the heels of that fun process with the audit, we're now in the midst of a software conversion. So our old state software accounting system is being retired, and there's a new system being brought in. So that includes things like extra training, running 2 systems concurrently to make sure all the bugs and kinks are worked out of the new software before we retire the old system. So they are also working hard behind the scenes, so I wanted to appreciate them tonight.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot of appreciation for all the levels of staffing that we have throughout the district, whether they're aides or support staff, teachers, drivers, food service, tech. I mean, it is the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks now have been the hardest we have had throughout the entire pandemic. And that is, I mean, that's a lot for me to say that. We have done things that we didn't think we could possibly do again, on top of everything else coming back. The staff here has served in the lunchroom with me, been in classrooms, taught math classes. I mean, we have tried to close every hole that is broken through the dam out there to keep our schools open. You see schools across the country closing and closing and closing, and we know what's best for kids is to be in school. So our team's commitment has been to do what we can, whatever it takes to keep our kids in. So I want to thank our team here. Also just thank our families just for being flexible. It's not a perfect science. None of it is. It never has been for 2 years. Whether you're in a mask, you're not in a mask, whether you're contact tracing perfectly or you're not, whether we own contact tracing or the county does, or, you know, all of those things, there's no perfect science to any of it. So the patience and grace that we have received from our community as a whole has been appreciated. When we had to close one day because we just looked around and we didn't have anybody else to push out there, and we're not going to have an unsafe environment. So I know that's a burden onto our family, so I want to thank them. That was something we really thought really carefully about before doing that. And thank you, board, for trusting us. You put a lot of trust in us as leaders, and we appreciate that. I know as a board member, you take a lot of the heat for a lot of things that we're trying our best to solve and do, and I know that just comes with the game, being a board member. So I want to thank you for that and bearing that for our community. And most of all, when the heat's coming and you're in the arena, you're calm, you're steady, and that is appreciated. I can't tell you how much that's appreciated from us as a staff. We're not jumping up and down. We're not running into panic. It's not this moving target. We know that we can go to you with a good, thoughtful conversation, and that you're going to help us think that through and get out of things. So thank you so much. And just again, thanks for the students coming in. I mean, I was just reading through my sticker. You can't see it if you're watching online, but wow, these would be great things for everyone in society. Zones of regulations, deep breathing, drink enough water, get up and move, write about how you're feeling, press pause, draw your feelings out if you need to, listen to music, think, connect with others, support each other. So just great stuff here. So thanks, Connie.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, next up, we'll have board commentary. Kevin, go.
Well, it's been mentioned a little bit, but Jessica, congratulations on joining the Schools Foundation Board, and you're joining a group of people who are investing for the long run in this community that'll far outweigh your family and our family. And it's the secret of this, that it's going to be something that in 100 years this community is just tremendously benefited by, and the kids who are coming through school in at that time period will benefit from your work today. So thank you for that. And then the reading challenge that is something that I get involved in as a carrier and a lugger and a driver and so forth. But it's an interesting way to connect kids' activities for reading, parents who much more broadly, a much broader opportunity for lots of parents to get involved with a small donation that's tied to their kids' reading. And that kind of breadth of involvement can help build awareness and bring others. Everybody doesn't have to give thousands of dollars to the foundation, but some of the dollars or the smaller dollars put together with big groups help fund a lot of what they're trying to do. So thank you for all those volunteers who do that, and the building principals for accommodating them in the building. And I am thrilled that they're just fighting right through this environment that we're in to have that level of normalcy and make sure that we make those long-term investments. And then I can't not echo the appreciation for the staff. Probably the biggest phrase I've heard lately, just unsolicited around, whether it's my work or out in the community, is that it seems like everyone's either gotten Omicron with symptoms or not with symptoms. And, I don't even know how to deal with that. I mean, how do you manage policy with that? And I just appreciate that the only real way we can do it is through the long-term investments we've made to ready teachers and administrators to deal with uncertainty. You can't plan to deal with uncertainty, and that's what we're dealing with. I can't also, it'd be against my normal character to not throw a jab, but I mean, we've also over the years gotten just kind of, I don't know, accustomed to accommodating mandates from other people. And one of the most ironic things is now that no one said the word mandate more than mask mandate. And who has abdicated their responsibility? Everybody. They've just pushed it right to the school boards. And they haven't pushed it with data. They haven't pushed it with science. They've pushed it. They've wiped their hands. Jonathan knows, great productive meeting, and then they go to the podium and they say something different. It is just frustrating. But part of what we got to do is be careful of just willy-nilly accepting mandates over time. It just builds a culture of what do you do? How do you operate? And, we've been running our business since the first day with, wearing a mask, and I've worn a mask at work every day since this whole thing started. Nobody's against masks in general, but how you operate an operation, it becomes impossible because you got people out, and they're out not because they're sick, they're out because someone else was around someone that might have been sick. And how do we even deal with that in a reasonable amount of time to sort out what's going on? So I just appreciate that we've invested in all of you such that you can deal with the uncertainty as it's dealt every day. And I just want you to know I appreciate how each of you are doing it and each of our staff is managing it. And I hope the data will change such that we can get back to a more healthy environment But until we do, I just appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thanks. Charles?
I want to start just by thanking, we had a more active public hearing tonight, so I just want to say thanks to everybody who came out and shared their thoughts with us at the hearing of the public tonight. Also wanted to extend again the thanks and admiration for our sixth grade friends during this School Board Appreciation Month. I don't know who came up with that holiday or month acknowledgement, but
School boards, probably.
Yeah, the big school board industry. We need to shine a light on that. Yeah, but thank you nonetheless to them for being exemplary students and leaders in their groups. I want to also echo a little bit of what Tracy mentioned earlier. You know, we have seen a lot of hardship with, you know, specific families in our community that have kind of risen above the normal pandemic fray recently. Some really heartbreaking and gut-wrenching journeys that different families are on. And, you know, your heart breaks every time you hear about a story of loss or of, you know, different issues and things that people are dealing with. But, you know, for whatever it is worth as a silver lining, I don't think there's any community I would rather experience that in than in ours, and seeing people come around one another, wrap their arms around one another, just rally together, and it's inspiring, and it's you know, it makes you feel really you know, just great about the kind of culture, and you know, when things really do kind of hit the fan for you in a community, just to see the depth of empathy that's exercised by, you know, our staff, our administration, but also just neighbors and strangers who, you know, hear about things and just go out of their way and lend a hand and you know, much more than a hand to families going through unimaginable loss and grief right now. So appreciative of all those who are doing what they can to you know, help others out when they are down right now. And also want to just echo the thanks and the acknowledgement of our staff, you know, from our teachers to our nurses to our bus drivers to our food service workers to central office and everybody else that is not covered in those groups. You know, we are aware, we've seen, you know, the candle burnt out a long time ago in terms of just what people are accustomed to. It's the past 2 years, it just feels like, you know, you've kind of been running on more than fumes. You know, you're coasting now at this point, and you know, hoping for that crest of the hill to just make it to the next day, to the next week, the next period. You know, it's tough. I know my wife is in education. She's a teacher as well. You know, we were in the delivery room this past month, and you know, she's answering emails before the epidural is going in, and trying to help with the long-term sub who's going to be stepping in for her while she's out. Just everything right now feels like, you know, your hair's on fire, and we are so thankful and appreciative. We've got, you know, kids in your classrooms. We know that they come home and give us the frontline report on a day-to-day basis of, you know, how many were in, how many were out, who was teaching. You know, it's
we don't need Jonathan.
It's a battlefield out there. You know, we've got the you know, the awareness that, you know, it's tough right now, and we just appreciate so much the culture that has been built over years here that is being stress tested to the max right now. So thank you again to the staff. And then finally, on a somewhat lighter note, I want to acknowledge and congratulate and share in the enthusiasm of our Cincinnati Bengals, who are kind of making it through history. You know, it's been a delay of the normal seasonal affective disorder that comes with playoff football in the area. Each win they've gotten. And for all the credit that has gone to Zach Taylor, you know, he's in his third year here. And even Joe Burrow, who's in his second year here. I think this is the first year if I'm not mistaken, that David Fulcher has worked in the Mason City Schools District, and I can't help but see the connection to Comet culture and Bengal success. So without, patting ourselves too much on the back for breaking several curses and stuff for the Bengals, I thought, that's exciting to have that close to home. So that's all I've got tonight.
Thank you. Ian?
As the month-old sworn-in guy, I want to just say that my initial observation is wow, right? It's tough out there. It is, everywhere you look, there's a challenge. Everybody is going full out all the time. And I am just deeply impressed with how much everyone in this room cares about each student, each staff member, every day. And I know from the outside, you want to pick apart the things that you maybe can see, whether it's logistics, whatever it may be. Know that the people making those decisions care deeply about you, your family, specifically your child, and making sure that they have an environment that is conducive to your child learning and becoming the best person they can be. I don't know how many of you see it or have the opportunity to interact with it on a regular basis, but our administrators, building principals, they work really well together. They listen really well. They listen to parents. They listen to students. And they watch the data, and they make adjustments in real time, which for a school district as large as ours is a feat. And I don't think we at times can appreciate what hard work that is, what coordination that takes. And so, having had this month to see behind the curtain, I'm just awed and impressed and grateful to have a lot of you in the roles that you're in and doing the work that you're doing, because your care and concern just screams through, not by the things that you've said, but by what you've done. And again, I'm grateful. To our students, you guys show up every day, and you are as adaptable and as flexible as a comic kid could be. And, that doesn't go unnoticed either, that we have these sixth graders from MI. I've got a sixth grader from MI. They are the happiest group of kids, no matter the circumstance. And so it just makes it all the more that we want to make sure that you guys have the things, the resources and space and staff that you need so that you can continue to shine your bright lights. The best thing I've heard in a week is Tanya saying that she's been inundated with sub requests. That's just, thank you, Mason. Thank you for stepping up. We do that to piggyback on what Charles said about wrapping our arms around. We are a solution-oriented community. When we see opportunities and challenges, we step up and we find solutions to those challenges. And I'm just very proud to be a part of this community, a part of this board, to make sure that we can continue to do those things moving forward. So just a huge thank you for all that everyone is doing, including the students. And on a lighter note, on a sports note, I think Charles and I have that in common. You guys will get to know me. I'm a huge hoops fan, and there's something that happened today in our school district that I don't know that everybody knows about, but we've got a very rare thing in Mason. I know we talk about being a destination district and rare, but we have a McDonald's All-American.
Hey.
Wow. Kyla Oldacre.
Yes.
Was just named to the McDonald's All-American basketball team, which, if you don't know, it is a gigantic deal.
Outstanding.
You get 24 players from around the country and she is one of the 24. So to Kyla, to the Mason girls basketball team, congratulations.
Headed to the U, right?
Headed to the U, baby.
That it?
That's all.
Thank you. Desiree?
Thank you, Connie. Just wanted to congratulate Jessica on her board membership, and I was also assigned to Superintendent's Committee to be on the Mason Schools Foundation. So I look forward to working with you and learning a lot from you. Hopefully we can get together and chat, and you can give me some good insider information. I also wanted to echo the thank you to all the work that's going on. You know, we come in every other Tuesday and we go through our agenda, and there's so much that all of you are doing. And then the teachers who are struggling with, I know I work in a school also, and you walk in every day and you look around and go, oh, the parking lot's half empty, you know, where is everyone? And it's like Kevin said, you either have it or you've been close to somebody who has it, and it really affects that feeling when you walk in the door and you're like, oh, we can do this. You know, it's going to be hard, but we can do it. So just a thank you. And I know it's probably repetitive at this point, but it's everyone in the district that is picking up the slack for when your friend's out or your buddy's out, and you know, tomorrow it may be you, and it definitely takes a community to keep this larger district running and supported, and all of the work that goes on behind the scenes, and like Ian said, behind the curtain. It'll blow your mind, and I don't know the half of it, but thank you for making our jobs easy. Just all the work you put into the agendas that you present to us, and you know, nothing is vote on this because this is why. It's all the details and all the work, and sometimes it's, you know, months and months and months of work, like Amy's Student Achievement Committee and new curriculum approval. So I just don't know if that's appreciated enough as much as it should be, or at least to anybody who's watching to know how much is going on behind the scenes. So I felt like that was a very important message tonight. So thank you.
Hey, well, that's a tough act to follow, you four are. We do have what I consider to be a solid board, and I am appreciative of being able to serve on a solid board for years and years, and that's because we live in a community that cares, where people are willing to get involved, and it absolutely includes our schools and our staff. You know, we sit here and we talk about all of the difficulties that COVID has caused, the mental health issues, the challenges in the classroom. And as a board member, I sit here and I think, wow, as a board, there's a lot of problems we don't have because our staff is so dedicated and they're so creative. And the most important thing is they support each other. The bus drivers is a perfect example, Todd. When you got 20 bus drivers out, the ones who were able to make it in, they got to come together. And our staff does that all across this district. So I agree with you, Desiree. I don't know how in the world you can appreciate that to its fullest merit. It's a huge challenge. I don't think most districts are pulling it off the way we are, and it's the staff that's doing it. So a huge thank you for that, huge. And with that, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.